Welcome to Learn More. In this lesson, we are looking at the Introduction to Child Developmental Psychology. The Introduction to Child Developmental Psychology. Now, at the end of this lesson, the viewer should be able to explain the origin of psychology, state the meaning of psychology, and give reasons why the definition of psychology is not generally acceptable by psychologists. So we have three major objectives of this lesson. Just three objectives of this lesson. Let's look at the origin of psychology. The word psychology is derived from two Greek words, which are psyche and logos. So the two Greek words that we derive psychology from, they are psyche and logos. Psyche means the mind, the deepest thoughts, feeling, attitude, or beliefs of a person or group of people. So psyche means the mind, psyche means the deepest thoughts, the feelings of people, the attitude of people, the beliefs of people. That is what psyche means. Then logos means a science or scientific study of something. Logos is a science or scientific study of something. So psyche, logos, those are the two Greek words that come together to make up the word psychology. Now let's look at the definition of psychology. Psychology is defined as a scientific study of human mind, deepest thoughts, feeling, or beliefs. Psychology is defined as a scientific study of the human mind, the deepest thoughts, feelings, or beliefs. So psychology study the human mind, study the thoughts of humans, study the feelings of humans, study the beliefs of humans. So majorly psychology is studying the mind of human, studying how humans feel, how they react to things, how they react to emotions, their emotion about things, their thoughts and belief about certain things in life. So that's what psychology generally means. But this definition that is given now is not generally acceptable by psychologists. The definition we give, which is psychology is defined as a scientific study of human mind, deepest thoughts, feeling, or belief, it's not generally acceptable by psychologists, and there are some reasons why it is not generally acceptable by psychology. So we'll be looking at the reason why this definition is not generally acceptable by psychologists. Now, before we go into that, let's look at who is a psychologist. A psychologist is someone that studies psychology. A psychologist is someone that studies psychology and directs psychological theories in solving problems, human problems. So that is what a psychologist is. That is who a psychologist is. So I said that there are some reasons why this definition is not generally acceptable by psychologists. That is, psychologists globally do not agree on this definition that is given now. And there are some reasons why they do not agree to this definition. Now, some of those reasons are: 1, the mind cannot be experimented on. The mind cannot be experimented on to reveal how it looks like, to reveal the feeling and emotions of the human that runs in the mind. So the mind cannot be experimented on. So psychologists are saying that if psychology is a scientific study of the mind, but we know that the mind cannot be experimented on. That is, we cannot come and get the human mind and try to experiment on it, trying to find out their thoughts, their belief, and their feelings. So if we can't do that, so psychologists are saying that if that can't be done and the human is still alive, then this definition is not applicable by them. Most psychologists are saying that they would not agree to this definition because the mind cannot be experimented on. Then the second reason is that the mind cannot be tried or tested in order to discover what it looks like. So we know that the human mind is in the human body. Yes, we know that every human has a mind. But we also know that we can't look at someone and say, okay, I want to test your mind, I want to know what's in your mind, and I can't say, come on, can I get your mind out to know what's in there? I can't do that. So if that cannot be done, that is one reason why psychologists are saying that they would not abide to this definition. So that is one reason why the definition is not generally acceptable. And number 3 is that modern psychologists believe that psychology is more complex than studying the mind. They believe that psychology is more complex. It's not just studying the mind alone, but you are studying many other concepts that comes in as you study psychology. Many concepts like emotion. You try to study feelings, you try to study stimulus, you try to study so many concepts that comes in as you go along in studying psychology. So that is why they are now saying that the psychologists are saying that psychology is more complex than studying just the mind. Is more complex than studying the mind. So these are some of the reasons that make the definition not generally acceptable by psychologists. And the fourth one is the mind cannot be easily perceived or understood. We can't just see a mind and say, okay, through what we are seeing now, this is what is happening to the person. We can't say that. We can't see someone's mind. Now maybe you go to the internet and you look for a mind, you look for the picture of a mind, and when you get the mind, you get the picture of that mind, you look at it and say, oh, this is what is happening to this person. I don't think you can do that. So psychologists are saying that because the mind cannot be easily perceived or understood, we can't generally accept the definition of psychology. So many psychologists may have their own different definition about psychology, but the definition of psychology is not generally acceptable. But because of for the sake of academics and education, we need to go and abide with this definition. We know that psychology is the scientific study of the human mind. It is the scientific study of the human mind. So in summary, we have learned the meaning of psychology. We have looked at the origin of psychology, where I said psychology is derived from 2 Greek words. We have psyche and logos, and we also looked at why the definition of psychology is not generally acceptable by psychologists. So we have covered these 3 concepts as the objective of our lesson. Then in the next lesson, we will be learning about the characteristics of psychology. The characteristics of psychology. That's what we'll be looking at in the next lesson. The characteristics of psychology. So we would like your review on this lesson. You can tweet us, you can send us a mail, you can try to respond on the chat box, and follow up on the next lesson, the characteristics of psychology. See you in the next lesson. Stay safe.